Jake Paul and Mike Tyson now have been suspended from boxing after controversial fight in Texas.
Jake Paul has officially been arrested, and honestly, it's about time karma decided to clock in for work. Did he really think he could keep scamming people without facing the consequences? Jake, this time, you've messed with the wrong crowd. Boxing fans.
I think the whole thing was scripted. The whole thing was just a money grab. And for a lot of us,
These aren't your TikTok followers. They'll strip you down to your last ego boost and leave you swearing off scams for life. And let's be clear, this scripted boxing circus isn't his only crime against humanity. Jake's track record is a laundry list of frauds, from fake fights to shady schemes, all designed to exploit his so-called influence for maximum profit. But the tables have turned, and all those he's wronged are finally getting their sweet moment of justice. Jake Paul? More like Joke Paul. This time, the joke's on him, and oh, it's delicious.
28-year-old kid who, used to be a YouTuber, and he's worked hard to learn boxing. He really has. He's come along, but really, he's still not of that level.
Let's rewind, though, because Jake's journey to greatness started long before this disaster. Back in his Vine days, he wasn't just annoying, he was outright toxic. We're talking about bullying, blackmail, and even police reports linking him to cases of cyberbullying so severe they led to suicide attempts. Yeah, really inspiring stuff. Fast forward to 2017, and we get Team 10, Jake's dystopian YouTube collective. Except it wasn't a collective. It was a nightmare. Phones tapped, members spied on, lives controlled, basically a cult with terrible merch. And see the audacity of saying something about hurting the feelings.
Like I said, I don't like the fact that they keep messing with that mouthpiece.
Left hook! Triple left hook by Paul!
Mike is hurt. Mike's hurt.
And the drama didn't stop there. Remember that mansion? The one where neighbors called the police 47 times for everything from explosions to arson? One girl even got injured during one of Jake's brain-dead stunts. But don't worry, Jake solved it the way only Jake can. By throwing money at the problem. No apology, just hush cash. Classic. And while he was wreaking havoc in the neighborhood, he was busy inflating his views with bots. Yup, up to 40% of his views were fake, making his success just as real as his boxing career.
At the end of the day, Jake Paul's fans got screwed while he got rich, but I guess anything to get that bag, right? We'll see how that excuse holds up in court.
But hey, why stop at botting views when you can scam kids out of their allowances? Enter the financial freedom movement, aka Jake's pandemic-era cash grab. For a few $100, he promised kids they'd be millionaires without leaving their rooms. What did they actually got? Repackaged internet guides and plagiarized tips from real business coaches. And Jake? $2 million richer in just 3 months. Honestly, it's impressive how quickly he can scam people. If scamming were a sport, maybe he'd actually deserve a title belt. And then came the crypto scams. Oh, Jake and his love for junk tokens. Pump and dump schemes were his bread and butter, leaving his fans broke while he pocketed millions.
Somewhere in between these two extremes. He's not as dumb as you guys probably think he is, but he's also not as smart as he thinks he is. So even though Jake Paul is going to try to hide his various crypto accounts,
the Doink token scandal? Jake secretly owned 100% of the tokens, hyped them up, and then dumped them, walking away with $10 million while his fans were left holding the bag. And let's not forget his NFT disaster, a $4 million cash grab that disappeared faster than Jake's fan base when the FBI showed up. Jake Paul in boxing? The guy didn't step into the ring for glory or even a shred of dignity. Nope, his foray into boxing was just another chapter in his long, sordid career of con artistry. Let's kick things off with his underground matches in Los Angeles. These weren't fights, they were bare-knuckle laundering machines. With bets soaring up to a jaw-dropping $1 million per match, Jake turned the ring into his own personal casino of chaos. 5 fighters left those matches with injuries so severe they probably forgot what walking feels like, and one unlucky soul straight up disappeared. That's not a boxing legacy. It's a crime documentary waiting to happen.
At the end of the day, Jake Paul's fans got screwed while he got rich. But I guess anything to get that bag, right? We'll see how that excuse holds up in court.
But why stop at underground fights when you can rig official ones too? Enter the Ainsan Gibb fight in 2020. It was as fake as Jake's humble beginnings. Rumor has it, Gibb pocketed a sweet $500,000 bonus to take a dive in the first round. Because who needs talent when you've got offshore accounts buzzing louder than a Vegas slot machine? Speaking of which, millions of dollars were funneled out before the fight even ended. And if that wasn't enough to make you gag, 2021 gave us the Ben Askren debacle. $30 million in fake bets flooded the market, and Askren? The man folded to a punch so weak it wouldn't knock over a paper bag. Bribery whispers turned into screams, but Jake just kept strutting, confident his bank account could outpunch any accusation.
Jake Paul got paid 39.9 Ethereum for the Sacred Devils promotional scam, which you can see right here. It's worth $139,000, which puts him on the board, which later linked up with a huge ring of NFT scammers we busted, actually.
And then there's Jake's extracurriculars, the kind that involve private planes and shady pit stops in cartel territory. Yeah, you heard me, cartel connections. Jake's so-called training camps in Mexico conveniently included detours to areas notorious for banned substances. Coincidence? Sure, if you believe in fairy tales. Let's not ignore the 3 convicted drug smugglers on his team either. His real training regime? Evading the law while pretending to box. Honestly, his career should be less about fitness and more about how to fit as many scams as possible into a single lifetime. Now let's talk about the pièce de résistance. Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson. Oh, this one's a doozy. A leaked script exposed the entire fraud for what it was. A clown show disguised as a fight.
When you stayed home and you turned on Netflix that night, we were like, holy I'm about to see the greatest live sporting event of all time.
Tyson was told to pull his punches, moving slower than a tortoise stuck in quicksand, all to make Jake look half decent. This is the same Tyson who once knocked out opponents in seconds? Yeah, right. His training videos showed a sharp, deadly fighter, but in the ring? He looked like he'd forgotten what sport he was playing. It was embarrassing, a masterclass in mediocrity, orchestrated to boost Jake's delusional dream of being a legit boxer. The leaked script is uglier than Jake's boxing form. All of it was choreographed to make Jake look like some prodigy. This isn't boxing, it's theater, and not even good theater at that. And the fallout? Oh, it's glorious. Both Jake and Tyson are now tangled in lawsuits, with the International Boxing Association breathing down their necks. Tyson, who cashed in a sorry $20 million, is accused of throwing the fight to shield Jake's fragile ego. Meanwhile, Netflix, which streamed this disaster, is drowning in a class action lawsuit. Fans who shelled out their hard-earned cash for a historic match were treated to buffering, crashes, and a fight so low quality it practically begged to be pirated. And the fans? They want their money back. Can you blame them?
Paul just got Netflix sued. People got a big problem with this stream cutting out.
The internet had a field day, of course. Hardcore boxing fans who expected a clash of titans were instead served a lukewarm pantomime dubbed the world's most expensive reality show. Memes flooded social media, with Tyson mocked for searching for his lost keys mid-fight, and Jake roasted for posing instead of defending. If turning a sport into a comedy act was an Olympic event, Jake would take home all the gold. But Jake wasn't content with just ruining the sport. He had to bankrupt his fans too. Allegedly, his scams and staged fights have cost fans over $200 million. And when the FBI came knocking, oh, the treasures they found. Hard drives loaded with evidence of shady transactions worth $50 million, offshore money laundering schemes, and doping scandals big enough to keep Netflix stocked with documentaries for years. Jake Paul isn't just a fraud. He's a walking, talking crime syndicate, dragging anyone dumb enough to work with him into his swirling vortex of deceit.
Is publicly tagged on OpenSea as the problem child, which is one of Jake's favorite names for himself. So this is kind of promising, right? You've got this wallet receiving $200,000 in SafeMoon, and then it sending that money over to something called the problem child on OpenSea.
And let's not forget how Tyson, the baddest man on the planet, willingly stepped into Jake's circus and got himself branded as a co-conspirator in the biggest scam boxing has ever seen. His once pristine legacy now lies in tatters, smudged by his association with Jake Paul, the king of influencer fraud. Together, they've proven that influencer boxing isn't just a joke, it's a disease, and Jake Paul is the virus spreading it. But somehow, through all of this, people still called him a boxing prodigy. A prodigy of what exactly? Fraud? Manipulation? Exploitation? Jake Paul isn't a boxer. He's a scam artist who happened to find an audience gullible enough to believe his lies. Every fight, every deal, every dollar is just another chapter in the book of how to fool the world for fun and profit. So yeah, Jake Paul getting arrested isn't just justice. It's karma, and honestly, it's been a long time coming. If there's any silver lining to this mess, it's that maybe, just maybe, people will finally see him for what he truly is. A fraudster in gloves, nothing more.